today's cup of coffee. We're having difficulties. We really, really are.
We did a previous take and it was fucking funny.
I may use that as an outtake. I don't usually do outtakes. I usually erase them immediately. But this one we may put in. But we're going to discuss this topic a few days before the actual event so that you can have time to prepare and participate.
Yes.
And we're going to be discussing Yule. Not Brenner, just Yule. I liked Yule Brenner.
Okay.
And
you do you.
what you see here, we will get to that. We really will. And
it's the Yule goat.
Several different sources today. Just going to take snippets from all of them. This is from Holidays Calendar. And it says Yule was a traditional Germanic winter festival that was celebrated on winter solstice and Yuletide. That makes, also known as Yule time or Yule season. And it ran for about a period of 2 months. It says Yule was rebranded and reformulated by Christians and renamed Christmastide.
Okay.
And it says most of the traditions of the holiday were then absorbed into Christian traditions, which includes lighting trees, giving gifts, and hanging up holly and or mistletoe. And Yule always begins on the winter solstice, which is December the 21st. And that, I think it occurs on a Tuesday. It's what it said. I'd have to check your own calendar. It's hard to tell.
Fact check.
And the history of Yule, it says it's a pagan holiday that goes back thousands of years and was celebrated by the Germanic peoples of Germany and Scandinavia. And no one really knows how old this holiday is because it was written about only in the 4th century. So it was probably going on for like hundreds or thousands of years before that. And it's believed that Yuletide was celebrated for a period of 12 days. And the main component of any Yule celebration was the Yule log. And if I had put a stick of wood out there, nobody would have known what that one was. We could have drawn a face on it. Oh my God, it could have been like Ed, and Eddie.
Plank.
It says that the Yule log...
What did you say, Plank?
That this tree would be cut down on the winter solstice and fed into the fireplace. Now, we're not talking no little tiny fireplace. We're talking like Hall of Valhalla.
Big ass fireplace.
Absolutely. And this was done...
That's a big ass boy!
Without chopping it into pieces. And so the top of the tree would be fed into the fireplace. And over the course of the next 2 months, more and more would be pushed in as the winter progressed.
He's looking at us longingly.
I can't help that. And another tradition of Yule was bringing in various plants to guard their life essence. And some of the plants that were brought into the home included evergreen boughs, holly, ivy, birch boughs, and mistletoe.
Damn, we should be fine because we got too many plants in this house.
That's not the right kind of plants. But that's the reason, as far as I usually do bring some evergreen in, which a lot of times I like white pine and holly. So
we got ivy.
Last time we do have ivy. Last time I had difficulties with somebody harvesting the holly for me, and it was like I want a few sprigs, and they brought I don't know, this. It wasn't a sprig. It was this.
It was a bush.
It was a bush. It was a holly bush. So and. Another one of the aspects of celebrating Yule featured a wild boar that was sacrificed and eaten.
Sacrifice.
Well,
sacrifice.
It was interesting. I didn't go into the sacrificial part of this.
Sacrifice.
And they think that as far as the wild boar hunt, that is one of the reasons that so many people have ham, find it traditional to have ham at Christmas.
Okay, that makes sense.
It makes sense. But now for those folks down in Texas and stuff, that they do have wild boars and I mean dangerous creatures. People don't realize that hogs are dangerous creatures.
They are. Kiska, you are a rude.
Well, just leave him alone. And it says that Christmas also borrowed from another tradition, which they didn't get into on this, but I just want to mention it, which was Saturnalia. It's like Saturn.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, well, that's interesting because there's people that have this weird thing about Saturn.
Return of Saturn.
Well, it's a matter as far as
albums.
what Saturn can mean, and that's for another cup.
Okay.
Because that goes into the black cubes and Satanism and all that stuff. Anyhow, it says one of the main things that Christmas borrowed from Yuletide is the placement and the decoration there again of the evergreen trees. And ancient Vikings used to decorate evergreen trees with carvings, food, and ornaments.
Okay.
So,
Christmas tree.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And Yuletide actually inspired the 12 days of Christmas. And another custom that comes from Yule was children leaving out sweets for some mythical creature. And the only difference is who it was left out for. The Viking children, sugar and hay would be left out for Odin's 8-legged horse.
8-legged horse. It's a spider horse.
Yeah. Spider
it's fucked up. Squish it.
Horse. And then, of course, that came to be traditional for children to leave out cookies and milk and stuff like that for Santa Claus. And mistletoe was another one of the plants that was used. And the Germanic peoples of Northern Europe believed that it possessed supernatural qualities and could be used to heal people.
Okay.
Now, mistletoe.
It takes a toll on you.
It can, because it can be highly poisonous if you don't know what you're doing on that stuff.
Yes.
And around here, mistletoe, well, it's a parasitic plant that grows very high up in the trees. It's gotten rare, of course it has.
Parasite.
And that people used to have to shoot mistletoe out of the tops of trees.
How the hell do you do that?
With good aim. You asked. And it says that the Celtic people believed that mistletoe could help ward off evil spirits.
Okay.
And then you had Old Man Winter, and the figure of the old man actually came from Yule traditions. In Norse tradition, the god Odin would wander the earth during Yuletide and visit people's homes, and he was described in some of the myths as being an old man with a long white beard. And
old man with a weird beard.
This would be the same depiction of Father Christmas that would be acquired during the 15th century. So I thought that was pretty cool. Then from Wikipedia, you have same thing, Yule's indigenous winter festival by the Germanic peoples. And the earliest references are in the form of month names, where the Yuletide period lasts somewhere around 2 months, following along the end of the modern calendar year between what is now mid-November and early January.
Okay.
And
January.
the saga of... Now, I'm going to try to do some of these Nordic things, so just bear with me. You know, I'm praying. All right, the saga of Hakon the Good credits King Hakon I of Norway, who ruled from 934 to 961, with the Christianization of Norway, as well as rescheduling Yule to coincide with Christian celebrations held at the same time. The saga says that when Hakon arrived in Norway, he was a confirmed Christian, but still the land was altogether heathen, and the people retained their pagan practices, and that Hakon hid his Christianity to receive the help of the great chieftains. And in time, Hakon had a law passed establishing that Yule celebrations were to take place at the same time as the Christians celebrated Christmas, and that at the time, everyone was to have ale for the celebration with a measure of grain, or else pay fines, and had to keep the holiday while the ale lasted. So that meant everybody celebrate, or you had to pay monies.
Yeah.
I can deal with that.
Yeah, I can deal with that too.
Yeah, let the ale flow. It says scholars have connected the month event and Yule period to the wild hunt, a ghostly procession in the winter sky, and the god Odin, who is attested in Germanic areas as leading the wild hunt, and also as far as with bears, and increased supernatural activity, such as the wild hunt and the increased activities of undead beings who walk the earth. Now,
Zombies.
within this, we can see how Charles Dickens drew a lot in A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
It makes that story, which is one of my favorites, all-time favorites, it makes it more understandable. Mm-hmm. So that's why, not Bob Marley, but Jacob Marley was walking the earth. Yeah, that's a different holiday. I think that's doesn't occur in the 4th month on the 20th day.
420.
Anyhow, what?
420.
Yeah. It says that an event focused on collective female beings was attested as having occurred amongst the pagan Anglo-Saxons on what is now Christmas Eve, and that has been seen as further evidence of a fertility event during the Yule period. I think it's just because it was cold and everybody was in the house more.
Probably.
Springtime babies. The events of Yule are generally held to have centered on midwinter with feasting, drinking, and sacrifice. That does not mean human sacrifice. Scholar Rudolf Simek says the pagan Yule feast had a pronounced religious character and that it is uncertain whether the Germanic Yule feast still had a function in the cult of the dead and in the veneration of the ancestors, a function which the midwinter sacrifice certainly held for the West European Stone and Bronze Ages.
Sacrifice.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing. Then, here we go. The Yule goat. People are like...
That took a long time to get to the Yule goat.
It did, but it was worth the wait. And youngest kid fashioned the crown for the goat.
That she fucked with?
Well, I did. I moved it and it fell off. And we had... Anyhow, I wanted its horns to show. The Yule goat is a Scandinavian and Northern European Yule symbol and tradition. And its origins go back to ancient pagan festivals. And there's a popular theory that that the celebration of the goat is connected to the worship of the Norse god Thor, who rode the sky in a chariot drawn by 2 goats.
Okay.
So it's Thor.
Okay.
We should have voice by Fred here. We should have Fred, who frequently portrays Thor. And, of course, that goes back to common Indo-European beliefs. You don't want to hear my fixation on Thor, do you? The last sheath of grain bundled in the harvest was credited with magical properties as the spirit of the harvest and saved for the Yule celebrations. And this was also called the Yule goat.
Nice.
And this also connects to ancient Proto-Slavic beliefs where Yule honors the god of the fertile sun and the harvest. This god, which is Devak, I think, was represented by a white goat. We didn't have a white goat. We used what we had.
We had this.
And a man-sized goat figure was known from 11th century remembrances of Childermass, where it was led by a man dressed as St. Nicholas, symbolizing his control over the devil. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
In Sweden, people regarded the Yule goat as an invisible spirit that would appear sometime before Christmas to make sure that the Yule preparations were done right. And in a Scandinavian custom similar to the English tradition of wassailing, held at either Christmas or Epiphany, young men in costumes would walk between houses singing songs and acting plays and performing pranks. And this tradition is known from the 17th century and still continues in certain areas. The group of Christmas characters would often include the Yule goat, a rowdy and sometimes scary creature demanding gifts.
No.
And the 19th century's version of the Yule goats roll over Scandinavia shifted towards becoming the Christmas gift bringer, with one of the men in the family dressed up as the Yule goat. I think we ought to bring that back. We need that.
Yeah.
And the goat was then replaced by Father Christmas / Santa Claus during the second half of the 19th century and the early 20th century.
Yeah, that was Coca-Cola did that with Santa
Yes, they
Claus.
did. They did. So it was a marketing campaign, but it was a very good marketing campaign. And the Yule goat in Nordic countries today is best known as a Christmas ornament. So that's pretty cool.
So we got a Christmas ornament right there.
Yeah, yeah. And then actually from the website that's called Got Questions, which is a very Christian website.
Okay.
And now they actually have some good stuff. Don't sit there and look at me with a raised eyebrow. They've got that Spock eyebrow going on with me. And within this, they had asked, what is Yule and what does it have to do with Christmas? And you can read the rest of it for yourself. But it does say in the 4th century, the church decided to celebrate the birth of Christ at the time with a 12-day feast, often called Epiphany, or the Feast of the Nativity. They planned the feast to correspond with the pagan holiday, the Feast of Sol Invictus. Now, I had actually heard that before, which celebrated the winter solstice and gradually lengthening days of increased sunlight. Over time, these feasts merged into a holiday that we know as Christmas. And then the Yule log was lit on Christmas Day and burned for the following 12 days. So there's some variety. I prefer to think that it lasted for like 2 months or whatever. But they're saying that the remainder of the Yule log was kept to light the next year's log.
Okay.
I can see that. And the Yule log was thought to have the power to ward off misfortune, so it was kept in the home year long. And Yule logs now are often symbolized by a cake shaped like a log. And I had seen that before in magazines, and I'm like, what is this? What is this?
Yeah.
So that gives us a greater understanding of Yule, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting that there were some things that we had just done on an intuition basis for many years. And people looking at, well, they always look at us strangely. It doesn't matter what we do.
Yeah.
And, which is on solstice, is to just go out and raise a glass of wine and celebrate the return of the light.
Yep, because we need it.
Yeah, because we have done that for a very long time. But it is interesting how that Yule, which is pagan. Pagan does not mean bad. Go back to the October series of everything.
It's just not Christian.
And it meant earth. It meant heath. It didn't mean anything bad. Uh-huh. It was just, and that, how the Christianization of that, and they kept most of the pagan origins, and yet Halloween started basically as a Christian thing and is now so demonized by the Christians.
Which is insane to think about.
Well, it's just one of those, that's the reason I piss people off, because I can. Because I actually do know these things, and they're going, Halloween's evil. It's like, have you ever studied the origins of Christmas?
Exactly.
So, anyhow, I'm not trying, well, no, I am trying to be a smart ass. It just comes naturally. Yeah. But as far as...
It's like, no, you are.
You are. It amuses me that people do things, celebrate things, because it's tradition, and they have no clue what any of it means.
Right.
So, I don't know. And maybe I just have one of those inquisitive minds that wants to know
everything.
Yeah. It's a moon in Gemini. It's a moon in Gemini.
Ooh, information, give me.
Yes. And Kid is going to, I don't know how much he's going to perform it. What you have to do is read it and then sing it, because he has an amazing voice. He really does.
Yeah, don't listen
and
to her.
This song that everybody knows, or most everybody knows, is such a traditional Yule.
It's a traditional Christmas song.
It's a traditional Yule song. So, go ahead, Kid.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now a gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. It's the same with like me talking to friends. I can't sing in front of anyone.
That's okay. What we'll do is just I will edit it in that place where it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody does that, or a lot of people do that. So it's not a big whoop. We can have you sing that outside of the actual video, and then I can just snip it in there. Modern technology, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, it is.
But the lyrics on that, which does mention the Yule log and different things like that, and how many people they sing that? That and about the figgy pudding. What the hell is a figgy pudding?
It's a fig pudding.
It is. And I think, wasn't it your brother one time that he actually considered making a traditional figgy pudding?
He did.
He never came forward with it. But it's one that
took too much effort.
I think it was isn't that a steamed pudding?
I have no idea.
There is
figgy pudding.
There is a YouTube channel that's called Townsend's, and they have it's historical recreation of 1800s, 1800s. And I'll try to if I remember, I'll put a link for that channel in there. Really good stuff if you like history. The guy that's there at the Townsend Inn, I think is the name of it, that he does the recipes and he explains a lot of things. Great stuff to know. You never know when you're going to need some of this knowledge.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
And yeah, we've got some high winds, so we need to batten down the hatches.
Yeah, we need to bring He Who in before his scrawny ass blows away.
Well, that would be bad. That we do not need kitty kites.
Kites.
Anyhow, I enjoyed these topics. I enjoy learning things about the traditions and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so you too can go out and buy and or recreate a Yule goat.
Yeah.
Amuse your friends and family. Or better yet, do like we do, horrify them. So, if you've had experiences with the supernatural, paranormal encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, Yule goats, rogue Yule logs.
Yule goats.
So, if you've got...
rogue hay rolls.
Yeah, really. It goes in with the Yule logs. There you go. It was just a little early.
It was really early.
Local, regional, family myths, legends. If you've had experiences with or without substances, that's always good. Send us an email, cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. And thank you very much for spending some time with us, having a cup of coffee. Hopefully you learned something amusing. Mm-hmm. And know that you're loved. You are loved. And we'll see you on the next cup.
Don't forget to like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe and comment. They both important. Subscribe.